So welcome to the day one wrap-up, Retail TouchPoints, and I am Debbie House, editor of Retail TouchPoints. I'm joined by Adam Blair, who's our executive editor, and Glenn Taylor, who's our associate editor. It was a great day one. It's sort of day two because we did have day one yesterday, but it was a great day of NRF, and I think we all had a lot of terrific experiences that we're going to just talk about for a few minutes to start kind of impressions of NRF so far. On a high level, we're hearing a lot about mergers and acquisitions, so there's some really interesting mergers and acquisitions going on in the retail industry with solution providers as well as retail companies. Otherwise, I think, this year we're at a point where we're talking about the how-to of omnichannel, not the why or what anymore, but it's how to achieve it. And I'm just having great conversations with people talking about, okay, what we need to really do is identify what are the problems we're trying to solve, and then figure out what are the questions that we need to answer. And that's leading to some great implementations that I've seen and some of the customer examples that I've been hearing about, and I have a couple to share. Williams-Sonoma using cause-related e-gift cards during the holiday season. Heartland Payment Systems working with companies like Taco Bell to implement mobile payment at the drive-thru. Total Wine seeing success with digital signage. Lucky Brand revamping its entire business platform with NetSuite once it was separated from Kate Spade. Berkshire Grocery was integrating merchandising and marketing with the help of SAP Hybris. And finally, Johnston & Murphy using ShopperTrack to greatly improve sales and conversion. So it's really been nice to hear about a lot of great customer stories from brands across industry segments and different sizes of companies as well. So I'm looking forward to more conversations like this tomorrow. So Adam, what have you been hearing?
Well, that's great that, as you say, there's some real practical examples of these things happening. So I think that's fantastic. I attended some great sessions today, the Big Ideas sessions. One of them was led by Heather Bothern from Harry & David, and she was talking about implementing a warehouse management system. And she said something that I thought was a really good example of practicality. She said, some things about a new system may be actually best practices, but the users may not be ready for them. So it's a matter of adjusting and not always being able to do all the best practices right at the start. She also gave some great practical advice. Harry & David has 2 distribution centers, one in Oregon, the other in Ohio, and she did both distribution centers simultaneously. She said they were able to bounce ideas off each other. As the deployments went on, they were able to suggest things when they ran into some roadblocks. She also said, as a practical matter, again, practical, if they had only done one and it hadn't gone well, the other one might have tried to delay. So she was glad that she had done both of them at the same time. And then and just another that I thought was a really strong quote from Thomas Philandro from Susquehanna Financial Group. He's talking about the speed that trends are spread throughout our culture. He said aspirational trends become masspirational much quicker than ever before, partly with mobile phones and the internet. So I just thought that was a nice way of putting it. So
that's a new term for us, masspirational. We're going to have to practice that.
Well, we'll have to start saying masspirational all the time. So Glenn, what were you seeing at the show?
Well, I think there were 2 good meetings that I really had. One of them I ran into Best Buy Canada actually with their client Miracle. They were doing a lot of marketplace work, and I thought it was pretty interesting that while the company, obviously they're known more for their electronic technology and gear, actually had worked with Miracle and had been able to experiment with some baby gear in Canada, and it actually, in the next few weeks, they're planning on actually doing this full-scale release as far as the release goes, with that note to know, hey, we're having that added new successful initiative here. So now we're looking out for that, and we're seeing how retailers can actually utilize these marketplaces to perhaps, get customers they might not have been using before and get customers that might not have been reaching out to them for certain things. Then on the second note, I think we've talked a lot about beacons in the past year and a half and how they've been really, hyped up a lot, but we haven't seen them as deployed in stores as we may normally think of them. And I think in my talking with Gimbal earlier today, they really the CEO really shed a lot of light on that, and the fact that, a lot of people are noticing that we're looking at it more as an offer for what the solutions provide, but we really should be looking at it more for what the data that they're collecting, and that they should be collecting that data a lot longer than this past year and a half per se of what they've been doing. Frankly, with that in mind, I think it's great that they're able to keep collecting this data as long as they can and be able to perhaps improve the store experience beyond those simple push marketing initiatives and offers that we as press or consumers may think is all that beacons actually show. So I thought that was kind of a great thing for them to do, and I look forward to seeing in the next year and year or two how much that progresses.
Right, absolutely.
Very cool.
I mean, yeah, the Internet of Things and just being able to find new ways to improve the customer experience, make it more relevant. I think that's what we're all seeing across the board with the different types of technologies, initiatives, and insights that we've heard from people today. So
Sure. It's about gathering data, but not in an aggressive way, or sometimes a passive way, but also improving the customer experience. And sometimes those are the same technology doing that, and sometimes it's just one side or the other. But I think the beacons are a good example of that.
And as the CEO, Jeff, had actually spoken to me, he said first the data, then the experience is the second part, and then finally the offers. That has to be the final key after everything else is solved.
And with that, I think we're going to end for today. Maybe grab a glass of wine or a beer at this point. And we will see all of you and talk to you tomorrow. Have a great night.
Thanks.